basically. Even he's like fairly a newbie to karting, but he's had more experience than me. Like, you're forgetting Ali did it as a kid, maybe for a second, and then literally it's always been occasions.
Still, bro.
Still,
I'm not having it. No, there's no way you can say that you're not experienced.
I'm not.
You are the most experienced.
I'm literally not.
How can you not?
What you would say with that is more natural, more towards the scale of natural talent than
you're messy.
Wallahi, bro. I've not had.
No, I said
some of you man have been.
You're Lionel Messi.
I thought you meant I'm Messi. I thought that was some kind of slang or something.
No. I was saying Lionel Messi.
You got sold the other week, no?
Yeah.
See, I know about football.
You know. Oh, what about Ronaldo? That's the big news right now.
All I know is that he's a billionaire.
Yeah,
what?
Stick to karting, my brother.
Cars.
Stick to cars generally. He genuinely don't know nothing about football.
Is he not a billionaire?
I'm not talking about that. What team is he in? Oh, you don't know either?
No.
Oh, no, guys.
Okay, that's your bad.
He said, is he still playing? Is that what man said?
I actually don't know if he still played or not, but I'm guessing he's still at...
He moved to
still
United
at Fabregas.
yesterday.
Not Fabregas.
Fabregas. Juventus.
Oh, I thought it was... What's the white kit?
Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's move on.
Bismillah, yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Obviously, you're listening to the Jollof After Jummah podcast with myself, Abdullah. Obviously, it's just me today. The other... Oh, well, that's the brothers calling me now. Assalamu alaikum, bro. Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum salam. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Alright then, see you later, inshallah. Alright then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Yeah, so obviously the other two brothers, they're working on a youth project. We always talk about Shura.
Sure.
In fact, Ahmed wasn't here last week. He didn't even mention it. So these are the generals. They're the big man. They're the predecessors. You get me?
MashaAllah. They're doing their thing.
Man, like, obviously, there was meant to be three of us today. Yeah. Two guests and me and myself. But obviously, one of the brothers had to attend to a family emergency.
Yeah, he's unable to make it. But
the second half of SSM.
Done though. Come on, we're here.
Both of you were the predecessors to Ahmed last week. Who's the predecessors to us, like in regards to leadership of the Shura of the youth. So these guys have this week they're doing a project at the with the youth. So that's hence why they're not here.
No, that's big. I'm so happy that it's still happening, man. Like it's mad. I actually forgot that it's around this time that the summer camp usually happens. Yeah. Obviously, it hasn't happened due to COVID. Obviously, COVID now. So early when I was speaking to the brother, he was telling me about the layout, and I was like, I totally forgot that they're not going to be able to face see each other. But I think they're doing a day trip or something.
Yeah.
Which is big. The fact that it's still running after how many years, man? It's crazy, and the impact it leaves, man, is so important, man.
Alhamdulillah, yeah. I couldn't make it obviously due to short notice, but yeah, alhamdulillah, may Allah reward their efforts.
Ameen.
Yeah. So, in fact, talking of youth, let's go into it. So obviously, actually, you know what? It will be good for us to discuss. Obviously, Fathers Association of Nigeria.
Fathers Association. I didn't know that was the name. Still,
that would be the title.
Yeah.
Obviously, what I want to get into today. Well, plane.
That's not a plane. That's a helicopter. So.
See, Ahmed's got his flying license. Obviously, I wanted to get in today talking about kids and fatherhood.
Yeah.
And because these stuff, obviously, we know in society. I've mentioned it many times a day. In the society nowadays, fathers are seen as disposable, effectively. And I want to kind of talk about effectively raising men.
Yeah.
Raising children, but I want to emphasize on raising men. We're going to talk about children growing up. In fact, I'll start off with because I was gonna ask both of you guys, because you guys are way more experienced, way more older.
No way, relax, bro. No way.
But you guys are Allah Mubarak, mashallah. You guys are more experienced than me in raising children. So what I was gonna ask both of you was, give me let's come up with 5 traits to start off with that you would love your children to have. The first 5 that come to your head.
Do you know what? It's crazy that alhamdulillah, firstly, I'm grateful that we're even able to have another podcast. Shout out yourselves and everyone that's part of this podcast. But yeah, just first and foremost, children, like the topic itself is a hard one, because you can never really plan or kind of foresee what fatherhood or being parents to a child is like. It's not a new toy that you can bring up and if it goes wrong, dash and get a refund for. It's real, and you can't afford to flop either. So there is that level of pressure, care, and everything associated to it.
And obviously we know that we plan, but Allah's the best of planners.
Exactly. And that's the key. I think for me, when I first was going through the process of obviously my wife being pregnant and Haroon being born, my son, we weren't sure what to do, if I'm honest. And there is books, but I personally feel you have to experience it yourself, deal with each situation yourself. Don't look at textbook. I'm always like that anyway. I don't see things as you need to really look at a book to tell you what to do, because not all the time it works for every single individual. And my son, definitely not. Because the mad thing is, so the question you asked me about 5 traits, the traits that I probably would have said prior to me having my son to what I think now is totally different. 8 years, he's 8 years old now. And in 8 years, I've learned a lot about myself, and that I can't try and clone or make my boy the way that I want to make him. I can guide him, and it's part of the sunnah as well, that, there's certain years that you look after them, you're a parent to them. And then there's a friend to them, which it's so important those years. And then thereafter, you let them free in a sense of you've given them the tools to then fly in a sense and do their own thing. It's hard to stomach that understanding, but that is the sunnah. That's the best practice from the Prophet. So if anything, that is the guide. That we 100%. That's the guide. The Salaf, the guide for life in general. That's what I'm saying.
Obviously, we have the Quran. That's the manual.
Exactly.
Oh my days. Let me just stop there. Right, we're back in. Okay, so I'm gonna rephrase the question. For the sake of time, and say, let's both come up with 3 traits that we would want, not necessarily to pass on to our children, because we can't pass, like you mentioned, you can't really pass on to that. And before you answer, you can elaborate on this, because I know you have something to say on this. You can't really pass something on. Allah's the best, as we mentioned. We can plan, but Allah's the best of planners. But let's say that if you could choose, you would want the top 3 that you'd want your children to take from you. Top 3 traits.
As I was saying, prior to Haroon being born, it was a thing where I was very much, before I even knew it was a son, just a child in general. I'm like, I'm gonna be a family. It was all about me. It wasn't necessarily, I don't know what a child looks like, that feeling. I know I'm gonna drift off I'll come back to the traits and stuff. The moment he's born, that feeling, and I know people say it a lot, but that feeling you can't really describe. Once they're born, you now have a responsibility upon a child. You have a responsibility. They looking up to you. Like literally,
you feel real responsibility.
Yeah, I changed everything. Like when I got married, I changed like some of my old habits. We won't go into there, but I think the previous podcast we touched on some of the roadman things. We'll leave that there. This is fatherhood thing. But yeah, like some of those things there.
We might even get into that this pod, to be honest. If we're talking about children and raising children,
true.
It's gonna come up.
It's true, because
especially
I got married and I was like, you know what, Bonnet, I need to get serious. But you know, you have to provide now, so you're trying to hustle. Moment he was born, you remember those bendy buses? Even that, I never went on that without paying. That's how much I was like, I ain't getting caught slipping at all, because I've got now a responsibility. Someone is looking up to me. He can't now come and visit me in jail, for example. I am never, ever gonna get, like, inshallah, I pray that Allah protects me. But I never want to be that guy where I've let down my son in any shape or form. Like, I am dedicated to being the best father possible. And that only happened when he was in my arms and I was sitting next to my wife after she just gave birth, and I was just looking at him. I did the, dua, recited the adhan in his ear, and that feeling, then I was like, you're mine, you're my child. Boom, it was a wrap from there, and it changed. So going back to your question, traits. So the way I thought I wanted a son then, and the way I was visioning stuff before he was born, to post it a couple of years after and seeing him grow up, it's changed. So before I probably would have said tough man, so having that leadership character. Not that well, I'll come back to why that's slightly changed. I still want that, but it's slightly different to the way that I'm seeing him grow up.
I think I think having children, the scenario you're mentioning, I think it's the biggest of many scenarios in life where you read up on theory, you theorize, but practice is the biggest. Practice and experience is the biggest leader and the biggest teacher.
100%.
In those scenarios. For example, mentioned getting married. You can learn that. Obviously, as Muslims, as I mentioned before, we're meant to study upon the rights of a husband, the rights of a wife,
the foundations.
100%. You're building the foundation, how to build it correctly, etc. We went to study upon that before we get married. But studying is one thing. Knowing, having knowledge is one thing, but putting it into practice, putting it into theory, another thing. Obviously, becoming a student of knowledge. Studying is one thing, but if you don't put what you studied into practice, it's useless.
And I'm a practical
work
learner.
Against you even.
That's for me the best. In my whole life, I've, like I said, may Allah forgive me for my shortcomings, but I have no regrets. Everything happened for a reason. Everything had to happen for me to learn and understand and better myself and improve. In the same way, fatherhood, parenthood, it's through the experiences that you go through and what you both want. It has to be a joint partnership as well. You have to sit down with your wife and actually talk about what your aims and objectives are. So we kind of tailor-made. So initially I had my traits as what I want as for my son. But I then joined my ideas with her ideas. So educated was another thing. And that was a personal thing. So leadership and education. Educated. More so because I didn't feel like I established what I need. I knew I was smart, but I had barriers. Alhamdulillah. I had barriers though in terms of my learning. So I didn't achieve the education. Alhamdulillah, Allahumma barak. I got a degree every time I finished school. Got a degree, got my businesses, alhamdulillah. But I still felt like I was short in terms of my education compared to my peers. Or my grades maybe are deeped. For example, let's just give a simple example. I practically did foundation for all my exams.
Okay.
Although I was in higher sets initially. And then because of my behavior.
That happens. I've mentioned it on the pod before. Like there's literally, even me, and up until about a week to my GCSEs, I wasn't going to do IT. So I didn't study 2 years. I think it's you start in year 9. 2 years I did not do IT. I didn't go to a single IT lesson. Yeah. Just went. They were just like, I think I got excluded, and I went to a class where they were doing a mock exam, and the teacher thought I was in the class, and he gave me a mock, and I did it, and I got an A.
Oh, is it?
And that's just because I was into it. It was a passion. I was into it. Yeah. Extracurricular. I was into IT, so I did my studying out of school. So they just like do the thing. Just that's another GCSE. Did it, got a B. Maths up until 2 weeks ago, I was in foundation, and I would be in a higher set and then get moved down for behavior. Higher set again, down, up, down. Up until 2 weeks ago, I was doing that one was in 2 weeks. I actually did foundation, got good grades and everything else, and then had to when I was studying my first year A levels, had to resit maths because I got a C, and that's the highest you could get in foundation. Then I had to then I got a B.
That's the thing, and that's that barrier. That's what I'm talking about there. Like where I knew I couldn't. I've reached the cap. Alhamdulillah, I got the cap. I got the top of my class in the sense of foundation, but I never reached certain levels. Only in some areas, like I got A in drama, but that was about it. That was my only A, for example. The rest were like I think 1B, and then the rest were C's really. So I got the best that I could possibly get, but really I flopped. I saw it as I know I should have done higher and got better grades compared to the rest.
See, this grade thing is a whole nother.
I know.
If we had time,
it's changed now. You're
a teacher as well. I was going to ask, what's your perspective? Because even you just mentioned grades. I remember triple science. I got a B in the exams. B's, 1A, and I think about 2 C's. And all my C's and B's were from assessments. And it was mad because what happened, because I got kicked out of class a lot of the time.
The only one.
What would happen a lot of the time was I would come in because I've missed a couple of days of school or because I've been in the I base, as they call it, the exclusion zone. And they will say, oh, copy Lisa's work. So Lisa's work is here. It was a controlled experiment. Blah, 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 do this. Yeah, this is what we did. So use this as a guide. Don't copy it. Use it as a guide, which is not technically legal, I guess.
Yeah, of course not.
Because they're not meant to be there as teachers, but that's what they would do. And my work, if anything, is better than hers because I've had time to theorize it and delve into it and correct stuff she's done.
Exactly.
But yet, and I've spoken to the girl and said, oh, okay, because I remember this specifically, and she's got an A now and I'm getting a B or I'm getting a C. How does that work? Is it my handwriting? Because my handwriting's terrible, but it is legible. Like, I don't get it.
Now that's
a whole nother topic.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because it still happens now. Like even COVID has shine light on that.
Made it worse.
Yeah,
because they're not able to do it.
They're not, and now it's down to the teachers to actually grade them. And you're human. We're humans, so no human is gonna not judge you. And this is this can go into different topics.
I didn't come up because if I was in a COVID generation, I would be finished.
Same.
Well, not finished.
But you know what?
Grades are not
Funny enough, bringing my sister into this, she just finished her GCSEs 2 years. She was a COVID kid. She was a COVID GCSE student. But what I did, because of what we just said and our experiences, and obviously me working in the education sector anyway, I knew what to do. And she had a little dip in year 10, but started to step it back up just before COVID. So what I did with her is, while everyone is enjoying COVID and seeing it as an early holiday,
send the teacher some biscuits.
You're coming here. Exactly. You're coming to my house and then you're going to grind the work and send biscuits, as you just said, to your teachers. And that's exactly what she did. She started sending pieces of work to her teachers while everyone, she saw all Snapchat, whatnot, all her friends are playing, chilling, not doing 1 ounce of work. And she moved up, I think 1 or 2 grades up from what she was planned and prepared.
It's all numbers now and stuff.
That's why. But that's what I'm saying. It was, but the reason she actually, obviously, Allahumma barak, she did well. She did, she improved, whatnot. But the other side of it is really, she got in the good books of her teachers. I strategized with her. She was smart to show that she's hardworking. The last thing that the teacher's thinking about before they grade them is, this kid's good. She's been working out through COVID. I'm gonna grade her this.
Especially for the lazy teachers that can't be bothered to look through the stuff.
And unfortunately, this is the generation, that we're in. But likewise, in our generation, in our time, the same kind of things were happening when it comes to assessment, and it is down to the teacher. Oh, that guy there, nah, he's naughty. I'm sure he didn't do the work. Cross.
Wallahi, for me, it was only a blessing that pretty much majority of the teachers, it was always, he has the potential.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. If it wasn't, he has the potential thing, and they didn't know nothing about me, it would have been even lower.
Trust me.
It would have been even lower. And I would have been able to do my A levels. The fact that if I had one more A level that was lower than expected, because with maths was a big, because I did computing, maths and further maths and economics.
Okay.
all of those, especially for statistics in maths and verb maths, you need to have. And for that, it was literally an exception for me. They were like, you got a C, got a foundation. I showed them my grade because it was some stupid percentage. Because I think the boundary was like 70%. I got like 90 something.
Yep. And you still got a C.
Yeah, I still got a C because it was foundation. So they were like, okay, we'll allow you, but you have to. And this was mad because I went to a private sixth form. I had to pay for my first year as well. It was like $1,000 or something. Wow. Because I was like, I'm not hearing nothing. Yeah. This is what I want to do. I'm not changing what I want to do. And place was just like, maths, you got to see in it. Yeah. And they were like, look, we'll make an exception because we've seen the grade sheet. Yeah. We've seen the mark and we've seen that you did foundation. And they compared it to all my other grades I got. I literally just scraped A's, B's, assessment, C's, all of that. So they were just like, yeah, they made a concession for me. We strayed.
I know.
Going back to free traits.
So education. So the second one, education. Both, and that's my wife, mashallah, Allahumma barik. She is the opposite of what I was. She studied. She got a grade. She got A's, A stars, whatnot. Alhamdulillah. So with that, it is when having a child now, you're now starting to think about those traits that you have as individuals. Yes, you can't give over traits, but technically DNA, you have certain, they have your traits. They have certain parts of you. So that is something we
not only that, children are cunning, man. Children are cunning. They learn from what you do. That's why as parents we shouldn't be hypocrites. We shouldn't be saying, don't watch TV. TV's on all the time. Don't do this. Doing that all the time. Be courteous, but you're both swearing all the time. They're not going to listen to what you say. They're going to watch what you do.
100%. 100%. Like that is something I clocked. Like I said, I'm a practical learner, so I didn't read too much before I had Haroon. I kind of wanted to learn on the way, but obviously be guided through people that are experiencing the same thing and kind of talking and stuff like that. And then just me and my wife collaborating together. And that is the biggest lesson we learned early. So just little things like even the way me and her greet each other in front of him, or we just naturally would greet each other nicely anyway, but we would make emphasis to ensure that as we walk him through the door, we're saying Assalamu alaikum. We'd make even the du'as. If we're asking my man to do it, we've got to do it just to show him that it's natural, it's not forced upon him. And to be honest, you're right. Even words,
In fact, may Allah reward my wife. In fact, she's already started. She would print du'as and put them on the doors. Like, for example, the toilet door. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khaba'ith. She'll put it and she'll put the translation there. Allahumma sayyiban nafi'an.
And there's so many tools, resources now, user-friendly ones for kids, bro. Yeah, Ramadan, bro. I was named, mashallah, Mr. Ramadan by one of my aunties from young. I was like, I think 3-4 when I started fasting, and I would refuse. I would refuse. I'm like, nah, I'm not eating.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was going around on the weekends, sneaking out, going chicken shop, coming back. Stuff like that.
I was like, nah, bun that I am fasting. So my aunt,
I'm fasting. Can I have some jollof rice?
And now, obviously, back then it was easier for us because the timings were like 3-4 o'clock. You finish school. So when I'm talking teenager now in school, it used to be easier then. But I started early. I'm not even sure why. I don't even know what encouraged me back then to want to do it. Because of that, so now linking back to some of the traits, I wanted that for Haroon.
Okay.
But this is where you can't, this is now the important part. Don't try and force things upon your children. Let it become through natural. There's another topic actually I want us to touch on later at some point about Salah. Because it's me and my wife currently have a difference of opinion on Salah with regards to how you encourage your child to pray Salah. For me, there's a level that I feel you need to, and this is why I'm contradicting myself because I'm saying don't force your children, but I kind of want to persuade him a lot more than he is currently. My wife's saying chill.
Just on that, I think there's two things that I've noticed over the years that I'll take into consideration. Firstly, like, obviously I don't want to say names on this podcast, but you know, AK.
Yeah.
Addict.
Yeah.
His kids.
Yeah.
They, whenever he starts praying, they're tiny. Whenever he starts praying, they join him.
Yeah.
You even hear them reciting with him.
Yeah, mashallah.
And I think stuff like that comes from just naturally observing.
Yeah.
If they observe you doing that, already is imprinted that this is procedure. This is standard procedure in this house. So sometimes you might not even have to force them. But obviously we know from the Quran and Sunnah, that 7, that's when we start
That's it.
encouraging them to pray. And puberty, that's when literally force them to start praying.
So there's an example of that. Like, it does work, but it's my patience with it. Because if I see him not praying with me 10 times out of 11 and one of them he prays, that's good. But it could be 20, 30, 40 times that he's not praying with you. And that one time, you kind of say it a bit different for him to join. That's my thing. Whereas my wife and we went to someone's house, one of the brothers, one of my brother's house the other day, Ade's, my guy. And his daughters, 2 daughters, girls, similarly, the wife did something similar to what my wife did and said, we're about to pray. That's it. First time round, they continue playing because we just got there. So Haroon was playing with them and they were playing. So they were like, you don't pray. We prayed. Maghrib came now. Same thing. We're about to pray. They came. And the girls, because she's 9. She's older than Haroon. She's like, let's go and pray. I heard her. I was shocked. Because Haroon, like I said, doesn't work like that. It's okay. We're about to pray. All right. He's playing on his Switch. So that's why I was saying I have a little bit of a difference, because I kind of want to change up the words a bit and say, Haroon, let's come and pray now, or let's pray, or something like that. Not we're going to pray. But it worked because they constantly see. But no matter what, they understand, and it's the understanding of Salah. What is Salah?
The importance of Salah.
The importance. During Ramadan, using that time to emphasize those foundations that they've already seen, learned, and now look at some of the theory, make it fun. You have to make it fun as well. You have to relate it to them, relate it Allah, like make them understand Allah, but Allah to them, not who Allah is just generally to everyone. It's specific to the individual as a child, and make it user friendly for them, like they're kids, so they have to enjoy it. Make it like examples that they can understand, and is that why? Yes, that's why we got this. That's why we do this. Even Ramadan, fasting, what is it? Oh, yes. Okay. Haroon, bruv, mashallah, Allahumma barik. Last 2 years now. Bruv, even now, I'm even trying to say, slow down, son. Man's fasted the whole day, blood. Even got a headache.
I'll make head in the corners of your eyes.
And I'm like, fam, chill. Like, you don't have to. AK, the one you was talking about, same thing. Like, you were saying similar things about his son. But it's foundations that you set from birth, I personally think. I started those things.
I was having a discussion with my wife the other day. I was saying, look, we lead by example. We lead by example as parents. Stuff like praying Salah on time. If every single time we're on point with it, we might not even be on point with it every time, but if kids see that we're frantic when it's time for Salah, like we're doing something and we're like, oh no, let me drop it.
Yep.
That behavior of kids are mini psychologists.
Trust me.
That behavior of just leaving something and saying, I'm being frantic, like, I need to pray. I'm not at peace until I pray. They will see that and go, there's importance to this.
They will do it.
There's importance to this. It's like they can't breathe if they don't pray.
And I think that's what my wife's trying to tell me to have this, and I need to. Well, Allah give me sabr, because I think that's what it is. She's right. I'm not denying, and she's not saying it just from her own point of view. She's saying it from the Sunnah. This is what the Prophet ﷺ used to do, and people of that time used to do that. It's a method that has been working. You encourage, and slowly, and as they get older, it will become something that's not forced upon them, and we deep it to ourselves. Similarly, as we were growing up, we probably were, our parents were slightly different. They kind of had to force us a little bit. But by the time we got to an age where we understood and wanted to, and because we saw, even though they were slightly the ways that they were, come pray, what are you talking about? but you know, but at the same time, it became a change in our mindset to wanting to actually do it. So yeah, alhamdulillah, that's number 2. Number 3, I think for me initially, it was about trying to make sure that he is an all-rounded, I would say similar to me in the sense of a people's people, like personality, he's confident, he's got that element of interpersonal skills, he's able to just chat to anyone.
Yes. That is very good. That's a very good skill in life, especially when it comes to networking.
Yeah,
business.
just or like business minded, because I've got a vision of him running my businesses, inshallah, and stuff like that. So it's one of the traits.
That's one of my. How many traits have you given?
It's a number of couple, but I would say main 3 ones: leadership, which ties in with the business side of things, and confidence as well. But education, and then the skills. I would say I wouldn't even call it but having certain skills, traits as part of your traits. However, like I said, the journey's changed over time. Haroon is not that guy.
Okay.
He's quite shy, reserved. He's not got that. He won't come and sit here right now and put a mic to him and spit bars. He's not that. He'll find any way not to be in this room right now to do this. Whereas for me, I'll be here every week. You know what I mean? If you want me, I'll be here.
You're more of an extrovert. He's more of an introvert.
He's an introvert.
Okay.
Although my wife says you're extrovert in front of people, but you're introvert at yard. So I actually like my own space and time, which could be some of the traits and DNA that he has too. But he's outrightly wanting to be an introvert, which I've learned to appreciate and see the quality in that, because it's linked to how the Prophet and all those tabi'ins used to be anyway. So there's benefits to what I have, and I can give use, but there's also things that I've seen in him, mashallah, that as he grows, it's also a strength to him. Why take that away from who he is? Let him be that. And I've learned that over time. It's been hard, because as a father, you want this, you want that. Likewise, I think in the last pod when I was here, we mentioned as well in terms of some of the things you want them to be involved with in terms of like sports, for example. I wanted him to be a footballer, certified. I'm a football agent. How am I want my son to be a footballer? My dad, my sister plays for Chelsea, mashallah. I was semi-pro. My dad was a professional in his days. It's in the family. It's in the blood.
Your dad was a pro?
Yeah, my dad was a pro. Mashallah. Yeah, man. He was. Jeez. Yeah, he was Velasco. That was his name, man. Mashallah. He was a goalkeeper, man. He was pro in Niger, but obviously they were still paying. He was still paying, but not getting paid. And it was part of that reason that I'm here now, because he got his scholarship through football to come over to UK. So
see how all that works.
Yeah, so I thought it's in the blood. Certified. Haroon, you're a footballer. But the boy don't like football. He's like you too. He don't know nothing about football. Don't get
twisted. I play football. I just don't watch football. I have no interest in seeing 11 people in the field kick a ball, man. To me, it's just grass and just shirts.
That for him though, it's mashallah. He's very smart. He is very much having the knowledge. He's so smart that he's like, why am I gonna kick a ball, hurt myself, cut myself out? Like, it don't make sense to me.
He's a theorist.
He's a theorist. He's like, it doesn't make sense. It's a ball.
He's a practical
man. I'm
man.
gonna be running, sweating, fall over, hurt myself. Like, it's the hurting he can't comprehend. Why am I gonna go into something to hurt myself? So for that reason, he's not on it. However, I was like, nah, man, are you mad? Like, I'm forcing the football in you. Yeah. But I've learned now there's other strengths. So now, after encouragement and just asking him what he wants to do, accepting that it might not be football, he's actually said he wants to be an athlete. He wants to be a runner. He's the fastest. He said he's the second fastest in his class, and he wants to be a runner. Bro, that's big. That's.
Shit, told him running. You think you can't drop 5 running?
But that's the thing.
Look how fast you are. If you drop, you're skinning for another 100 meters.
His logic probably is, I'm so fast, I ain't dropping. You know what I mean? But I feel like that in itself is saying a lot about him and how he's even growing and changing in terms of some of the things he's seen. And even it's still instilling some of the things that I've been trying to instill in him in terms of that confidence, all of that, which is still things that I need to do as a parent, as a father. You can't disregard that. I'm not saying disregard that. But I've seen the change in that. Because now, for example, he does actually like football now, but not to play. He's got an interest in art. He loves Arsenal. We went to our first football match, by the way. That was a big milestone for me. Like, to take my son to an Arsenal football match. And I look at him, he's like, what is that? Why is that so big? Fam, that was one of the touching moments of my life thus far. I know it sounds weird.
Yeah, fathers bond with the children.
Bro, since it's like, I don't know what interest you have, but whatever it is, cars, I don't know. Going into a fastest car with your child. I don't know. It's sharing the experience.
It'd be like taking my children to Goodwood.
There we go.
Or going in something
or doing something with them. Yeah. It's that feeling that you're having that level, but and it was amazing. It was amazing just to see his happiness. But I was more happy than him just because, and it's something that prior to his existence is something I wanted to always do, knowing that I love this football team.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. For me, that's like working on cars with my kids.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine that, building the car together. Like that's those goals, those father goals in a sense. And alhamdulillah, even though they lost against Chelsea pre-season match, he was upset. But it was one of those.
He was really into it. Okay.
But the fact that he even has got now the interest, it's happening in disguise that Allah's kind of seeing that, okay, I've accepted, it's not going to be that. Now Allah's putting that blessing in the sense of, all right, he's got the interest. It doesn't have to be a footballer. There's other things he can learn from it. And if you think deeply like that, trust me, there's mad things that can come from it. Right. But yeah, those are my 3 traits. I know we went round the roundabout, but we're hearing it. What about you?
Me. Just to keep it short, I would say number 1 is, as you mentioned, when it comes to business stuff, I would say it's resilience. Yeah. Doesn't have to be business. My children, I'm never going to really push anything on them. Obviously, they're going to be naturally influenced from what their parents are doing, what their parents' interests are. But for me, personally, I'm not going to push them in one direction. Maybe I'll put hints of what I would like them to do.
100%.
But once I see, because they're eventually going to come up with interests. If their interests are nothing that is going to take them down a wrong path, i.e., the interests are not in the normal standard commercial finance, whatever, or gambling or something ridiculous.
Of course, 100.
As long as it's not down that path, which it won't be, inshallah, because
you'll guide them through that.
Where they're gonna see that from?
Exactly.
I'm gonna push them in whatever they want to do, and then once they get bored of it, and because children get bored of stuff, they don't really know what they want. Yeah. You've got all these people saying, "Oh, my kid wants to be a peanut, LGBTQ. My kid wants to be a dragon." I have to support that. And if you don't say you're not gonna support that, you get chastised. Shut up, man.
Mad. And following on that point of guiding them through different things, one thing that I definitely learned and I'm still doing and learning is giving him options. So one of the things I started doing, is because he's still young. He's still, don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to say, give him independence from bloody 8. I'm not saying that. Like, you have to guide them through the process. They're children. They will say no, but you have to give them the understanding. So even a sweet or something that they don't know is a sweet, like a chocolate that's covered in something, but it's a chocolate. And they didn't realize it's a chocolate, they're gonna say no. But the moment they hear chocolate or sweet, they're okay, and they'll taste it and then realize that actually it's not as bad as what they initially thought. Similarly with
I'm not gonna lie, my children are having that trait still, because that's me. My wife tries to put me onto different foods all the time. I'm like, no, I taste it, and I'm like,
see,
I want more still.
Yeah. Please? So similarly, kids need that guidance too, innit? So I've given him in terms of sport, I've given him some options, or even life skills. Like we've thrown him in situations to help let him grow and just make decisions. So in terms of clubs in school, we've thrown him into 3 clubs. One of them I didn't think he would enjoy it, but French class. a French club. It's called French club. So it's not even like a class. It's just a club where they speak French and they learn French. He loves it. So like another language. Like before, imagine it's not even secondary school. That's when you. And he's doing French club, and it's an extra like club. There's a multi skills club. He attends that as well. And
for me, I'm gonna be very big because obviously I mentioned inshallah my plans are to homeschool. So there's gonna be an outlet for my children to be socializing with other kids that I can monitor. And for me, one of those is clubs, interests. If they got interests, I'm very big on taking them to clubs
100.
for that sole purpose of interacting with other children in an environment that I can.
So important because I was a bit. Me and my wife were concerned slightly when he was like really young because he wasn't as social as us. But it wasn't a concern because we're like, but it was just a bit odd. Like, hold on, we're very outgoing people. Why is he so reserved and an introvert? But just going to a club alone built his confidence. Going to those multi skills, and then
it's people skills.
It is because you interact with different year groups as well. Because that's it. When he was younger, and he would come home crying about someone did this. I remember my mum one time, like I did the same thing. Oh, mum, this kid did this. I'm sick of you keep complaining. Hit him back.
And I'm gonna get onto this.
Yeah. Hit him back. I was like, rah. And little did my mum know what she made, man, just from that. I'm now the man that I am today. Even arguably based off that, because I went back and I went, my mum said it.
That's our parents' generation, but that can definitely backfire. What I'm gonna teach my children is never. In fact, I was in a scenario. I'm not gonna mention it. Yeah, never set pace. Never ever set pace. You'll learn this as an adult. Never ever set pace, and as being fair, and it will satisfy you as well when you have to dish out. Never ever set pace. If you're in a heated situation that you cannot leave, obviously you stand your ground, but never set pace. Let them set pace.
Yep.
Once they set pace, game over. Obviously, as Muslims, you know, you can have revenge, but there's levels in it. Once you've dished, you've dished. You've given back what you've taken. Leave it as that, and never set pace. Right, going back to what I was saying. Yeah, so my first trait was I was going to mention in regards to, so you've mentioned business and you've mentioned standing on ground. Or they were linked to my first trait is resilience. So I want my children to be, well, if I could choose, I would want my children to be people that adapt well to situations, adapt well to life, because life is a test. There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. Even me, over the past 2 years, the amount of money I've there's people that no, I'm being serious. There's been a lot of people. How do I put this? There's been a lot of white people, white examples that I've seen where they've literally committed suicide over a fraction of the money that I lost, and I feel that comes back to upbringing. I was brought that, first of all, I'm Muslim. So the whole committing suicide thing is not an option. Second of all, it's not that deep. Life is a test. There'll be inshallah, there'll be more opportunities to make more money.
It's part of it.
And also, there's other things to be grateful of. Like taking your life for money because you lost a lot of money. You lost the wealth. It's not.
Even wealth, man, is crazy. And for me, one line I just want to drop as we're saying it. People that are out there feeling like you can't have a child because of money.
Oh, that's ridiculous,
bro. I'm telling you now,
especially as Muslims.
That for me, I didn't deep until I had a child, and I realized the blessings that come with it. It's crazy. Everything got upgraded. Everything that I possibly can think about, the moment he was born, got upgraded. Everything that I was shook of having him for, but still, of course.
Same thing with me.
Every single thing got upgraded. My yard moved. We got and the yard that man's in now, alhamdulillah. When we got it just upgraded. Like it was because of him in a sense. We only made the decision to move because of him in a sense, and Allah then put barakah on it. Everything, name it. everything got upgraded, and it's just a blessing. It just, I can't express it more.
Blessings after blessings come.
Trust me.
Allah will take care of you. Allah will take care of you.
100. So money,
you just tie a camel
you mentioned
and have the good
intentions. That's it.
Allah will take
Allah
care
make
of
the rest.
For
so
me,
money,
it was a case of, even before I got married, I had more wealth than I have now. People get married and then their wealth increases. For me, it dipped. And then I had children and it dipped again. And yet still, there will be situations where I'm like, do I have to choose this or do I have to do this? Do I have to? And subhanAllah, Allah just provided.
That's it.
Allah just
That's it. And that's part of the test. That's what we don't deep. Sometimes especially with wealth, we've got to be at the lowest of lowest to appreciate. It's part of what Allah's trying to do.
I'm gonna get into that in one of my other traits about, because there's another caveat to this where I've just realized something, but I'll get onto that inshallah. That would be my second or third trait inshallah.
Go through.
Right, so the first one, resilience, adapting to situations, being able to adapt, not melting down or becoming anxious when something comes up and just throwing a strop. Like, handle it. I want them to be able to handle the situations. I also want them to be able not be afraid to ask for help, because this is something that I've fallen victim to, where I'm just like, I'll do it all myself.
Yep.
I carry it all myself. Yep. And I've, up until recently, I've always been like that. I want them to not be afraid to ask for help, but I also want them to be able to adapt and to be able to change the situations. I also want them to be able to, when it comes to resilience, I want them, okay, so see me, when it comes to, I always get comments on, oh, Allah, business, blah, blah, you're good at business. I'm not good at business. I'll be honest. And people think I'm being fake humble. I'm not good at business at all. I've, up until this point, in regards to success when it comes to business, it's literally been one of two things. One, I see a product that I'm thinking of a product and there's not really, it's something I need, or something that, for one of my other things, it's something that I feel like my wife could benefit from.
Right.
But it's not readily available. Right. Maybe it's around, but it's not readily available.
Yeah.
Cool. That's where I go ahead with that.
Yeah.
Second scenarios that usually benefit me when it comes to business are, why not? I've always, from birth, I've always been someone, when it comes to stuff parents have told me, when it comes to restrictions, when it comes to anything in life, let's say accepting a religion, I've always been like, why not? They told me you can't do this, why not? You can't do that, why not? You have to do this, why? Why can I not do that? Yeah. And then I found a path to answer that. Or in a rare scenario, there's been scenarios where I think, okay, that's why.
Okay.
But most of the time, alhamdulillah, it's been, why not? Okay, I'm gonna do my own thing, and I've done it, and I've prospered from it. That's how it's always been for me, and I want them to take that trait.
Okay, mashallah. That's good.
The second trait, right, going back to this one, I want them to understand that I don't want my children getting comfortable. Not getting comfortable. I want my children to be comfortable, alhamdulillah, inshallah. But I don't want them to think that it's okay to be stagnant. I think comfortable is the wrong word, stagnant. Because this is something that we're always working on personal development. Me, recently, I've come to a conclusion that how it was before, there would be people treat me a different way. I feel like over time I've become more accepting of nonsense. Obviously, I'm still somebody that's
older as well.
I'm still someone that's quite blunt. I'm still someone that demands respect, but I've just become more accepting too, and that's the thing. I just feel like there's not one thing, there's many attributes in life over the past couple of years that have just made me careless. Obviously, I've mentioned wealth. I just feel like when you're exposed to luxuries, I wasn't wealthy, just to put that out there. I wasn't wealthy, but
you weren't fazed by.
No. I built a level of wealth.
Okay, mashallah.
And with this, I was exposed to luxuries in life that I didn't grow up with, that I didn't have before.
Right.
And when you come across this, it makes you comfortable. Obviously, luxury, comfortable.
Yep.
And with that, I came to the realization that it softens you.
Yep.
When you're comfortable, it softens you. Again, stuff like see, it was at the top of my head, I can't remember. But there's certain things in life, not just wealth. That was just one example. But there's certain things in life that, and it's different to each people. People have different things that make them feel comfortable. It can be getting married. It can be anything for different people. But general principle is stuff that makes you feel comfortable in life. It's okay to feel comfortable. That's what I'm teaching my children. But it's not okay to feel stagnant.
Yep.
It's not okay to feel relaxed. And the moment you do
that
feel
hustle mentality,
it's gonna,
in a sense, but without it, it's not that you're always. It's not a hustler. Doesn't have to be a poor person. It's just that drive, that desire, that resilience, that hunger of succeeding. Even if
I'm not even, bro. I'll be honest. I'm not even talking about success. I'm talking about dealing with people.
Okay.
I'm talking about. So for me, it was I saw that people would run jokes that they wouldn't run before. Or people, like there'll be, and it's not me, because there's a certain set of people. I've never had a problem with you. I've never had a problem with my bro Abi. I've never had a problem with Ahmed. But everyone else, like strangers, even strangers, when there's strangers and they're behaving different to you, to how people used to, and there's humans and they're you find them getting away with stuff that they shouldn't be getting away with, it's your fault. Because people only, if no one knows you, they're only going to react to what the impression that you've given them within the seconds that you met them, right? So again, it comes back to you, and I would say being comfortable and becoming lax and softening down has kind of, you get me? It's kind of, so that's why I would say
from your experiences that you have, is that why now you're feeling like that is something for your children you want them to be aware of?
Yes. Yeah. Again, just coming back to being comfortable and not being stagnant, not being not full enough. Because I feel like full enough is the wrong word, but I just feel like I'm just gonna go back to how it was before, and I'm just gonna be more cutthroat. Okay, that's it. What's cutthroat changed, as in
but what's mainly changed that kind of view is over the period of time that people have, is the way people are towards you, that you feel like you've got to work on you being that way, or is it a default? Does it have to be that way? Is there other ways that you can deal with it so it doesn't, come to that?
Where I've come to that conclusion is people.
Sorry, as well. Do you see the positives of some of the things that was happening when you were doing it that might kind of say, actually, nah, I've got to balance it. It's all right to be the way I was.
No. When I say be the way I was, I mean just the way I dealt with people, and I never dealt with people the way I never dealt with people in a. I think cutthroat was the wrong way. I never dealt with people in a cutthroat manner. I just dealt with people normally. Whereas I feel like over time, being exposed to stuff that softens you, and the key word is soften you. Being exposed to stuff that softens you, it makes you allow people to get away with more.
Okay. And
I'm just saying, when I say I'm gonna go back to how I was before, I just mean like
be normal.
Just be normal. Just how I was before. Just be courteous to people, but not let them get away with nonsense, or not let them run certain jokes.
Be more aware again.
Like, for example, I just mentioned jokes. Maybe a stranger would meet me for the first time and mention a joke, and I'll let them run with it. Whereas now, I'm gonna pull it up. Whereas, like how I would have maybe 4 or 5 years ago. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Basically, what I mean by going back to how I was before. So first trait, resilience and adapting. Second trait, understanding the difference between being comfortable and being stagnant. And I would say the third is, you know what? Third. something I really. There's so many. I'm trying to pick. You know, while I think of it, you elaborate on your one.
So yeah, just what I was trying to say is that things have shifted in terms of the way that I had thought of certain traits that I wanted for him to the reality. So what your plan is to compare to what the reality is now. And I think the reality has taught me that he's going to be the man that you encourage and guide him to be, but he also has his own identity in a sense, or his own traits that he's built, which I don't think is a bad thing now. Before I was like, nah, bun that. Like, you're going to be what I tell you you're going to be. But I can't be that guy because I've learned to appreciate what he is now. That shyness, that reserve, even the vulnerabilities that he shows is not necessarily a negative. So crying, for example, it annoys that, like, proper annoy. Like, alhamdulillah, when he was a baby, it was calm. But that, so what? Because you didn't cry when you were a baby, you want to now start crying now. Pattern, man. Like, so it's just, for me, I'm like that. That's my mentality. I'm very strict.
Yeah. Anyway. You need like, the father needs to be. It's better for the father to be over strict, and the mother to be
And that's what we do. We tag team, but
over lenient, so that
funny,
it can balance itself out.
That's the problem. I feel like we've created that in him because we're both strict.
Okay,
so I feel like that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
We've both brought him up quite strict, and I feel like
it's not a problem.
It's not a problem because alhamdulillah, we've got so much goodness out of it. But there's times now we're more aware now of it, that we've got to balance it,
especially when he's growing up.
Yeah, I'm definitely the default stick man. Like default, that's there. She knows that, I know that, he knows that, everyone knows that that's the case. Yesterday alone, like, she's like, Haroon, do you want me to call your dad? That kind of.
That's what's needed.
Alhamdulillah, I'm that guy. And she called me. I went there.
You know what? I don't think both sides are strict.
Yeah.
Because the fact, if your wife was over strict, then she wouldn't even need to say, "I'm gonna call your dad."
Yeah. 100.
There's one thing the dad walk into the room and the demeanor of the child changing, but there's one thing the mother having to say. The fact that she has to say, "I'm gonna call your dad," shows that the child tends to get away with more. Of course. And know that they can get away with more with the mother.
Yeah. And I believe that is a natural thing that Allah has put in
100%.
women and put in men. Women are naturally going to be more loving, more caring, more soft with their child. Like, it's because it's
innate in them.
If they fall over and hurt themselves, the woman will shake and feel it all over her body. We feel it too. Trust me, I felt it. But get up, man.
There's been times where I'm like, I need to finish this prayer quick because baby's crying. I know my wife's I know my wife's khushu is not.
Everything's just turning.
I know my wife is disturbed, so I'm like, quick ikhlas.
Ikhlas done. Go and attend to the baby. But yeah, like, honestly, that's there and it's been instilled in them. And I feel like, but we've understood that now. I feel like early days we were still learning. She naturally is quite firm as well as me. So we didn't have as much dialogue early days about it compared to how we will sit now and have shuras about our child. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's strategize what our next look. He's going into year 4 now. Like, what's up? What are we planning? What clubs are we doing? Like, we have a shura. Like, we sit down and discuss it. Like, this is your child, bro.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Do you know what I'm saying?
That's how it's. That's.
So I feel like that's why now I've also learnt to just chill a bit more and let him guide him, but also accept some of his traits that he's starting to show that I wasn't aware of. It wasn't in my plans, and let it be. See it through. See what happens with it, and then use whatever traits it has. You are the father. You guide that and turn it into a positive.
100%.
That's where I've learned from the traits I have compared to the traits he's showing now.
100%. Right, we got a lot to discuss. So I'm
That's
quickly.
why I'm like, you know what? It's cool. I'll chill. I'm not trying to rush out.
So cool. 2 more traits. So, right, the next trait would be sharpness, like using the initiative. I feel like, and not necessarily education. Alhamdulillah, education for me was not. I don't find it, especially in key stage 1, key stage 2, key stage 3, college. I didn't have a problem up until A levels. Alhamdulillah, for me it was a walk in the park, which is I'm still alhamdulillah. Like I'm still with the amount of time I was out of school, I'm still I don't know. It's a lot.
That's good. That shows a lot.
But for me, where I would say I used my head a lot was out of school, out of education, at a young age, walking through certain areas, etc. You know what I mean?
Life skills. Yep.
Yeah.
100. Same.
I want my children to know that, look, like for example, there will be a lot of guys that will get sucked in, and I'll just like, a man's coming to you talking about, do you want to make money? Yeah. And in fact, I've just thought of the last trait actually, but I'll get back onto it. This is reminding me. Man will come to you about talking about money, but he's got holes in his shoes, and you use sharpness. How are you telling me, asking me to make money, and you're not even looking after yourself? There's a lot of guys that got sucked into a lifestyle or got sucked into nonsense by simple encounter like that, and they just didn't use their head.
Yep. 100. And yep, I totally agree that it's our role as fathers, as parents, to guide them through that, because you can educate or instills that level of understanding. For example, remember what you were saying, but I have to share this proud story. Me and my boy actually was talking about how do we start to challenge our kids for that life, for road, for life at a very early age, so 8, 9, 10.
A couple of man got triggered by the fact that we said road. Let's not say road. Let's say because it is, at the end of the day, it's real life. You can be naive to it, but it's real life. You're gonna come across, it might not be in the same manner, but you're going to come across situations like that in life,
even
regardless
work,
of country,
even in the working environment. Someone's trying to politically talk to you down in a certain way.
Sharp and assess. This comes back to the trait if I could pass down, would be sharp. Assess situations. Pay attention, close attention to I'm someone that 100%. I pay every, like, it comes to the point where you even see it on a pod, because I will reply to something way after, but the subject might even move on, but I will still reply, or I might even laugh. Like
it's still ticking in your head.
I have people saying that I'm moving like I'm mad, like I'm high, because I'm laughing to something that someone said 3 minutes ago, and that's because I overanalyze things. I pay close attention to details.
That's not a negative. That's
something I want to pass down.
That's a strength. That's a skill. And that likewise. So I'm like that. Fadlu, especially, I've learned a lot from him about attention to detail and being on point, and I want to instill that in my son. And I've been finding ways to try and do that, but I wasn't ready, or he wasn't ready, or been doing little things. But one situation happened where I've started to. So one of my boys said that he gave me an example. Ramsey, he told me to. He said he sent his son, who was at the time, I can't remember how old, but he sent him to the shop. But he sent him, and his son was shocked, like, what? But he was ready and relishing the opportunity too. But he did it with guidance. He went with him without him knowing. So he was behind him the whole way through, gave him a card, contactless, told him what to do, guided him, and then he came out, boom, he was all right.
Don't tell this story to our parents.
Exactly.
Our parents. So you cannot send your children. You cannot send your children to the shop.
All of that. Exactly.
Listen, we used to get sent. Fam, I would get sent to Peckham from him. Oh, he's here. Okay. But yeah. Actually, no. Let's continue. Yeah, I would get sent to Peckham from Kenneton, or forget even that. Let's not even talk about the places my parents sent me. Listen, I've been trading from young. When I was excluded from school, I'll travel to Brighton to go and buy an iPhone and then sell it in London for more. Listen, I've been
from young.
And then our parents sending us to dangerous areas to buy bread.
Or bread.
To buy bread. I can get bread or buy meat.
Oh, tell me about it. Just all the way down. Just
moving like our fathers that would travel to the petrol stations 10 miles down.
I'm nearly getting wrapped on train. Like, so, what you saying?
So, what you saying?
I'm nearly getting wrapped on train because my mum sent me to go and get something from Ed's, or I've lost something because of. I'm like, but it's what but that's us. Generations change. In
fact, it's just reminding me of another example. It comes back to being sharp again. The trait, being sharp and assessing a situation. How many times have guys tried to rob you? There's no cameras around. No one's watching them. Only Allah's watching. Allah and you two, or you four. And man's got his hands in his trousers. Like I got a shank. Bro, you need to assess whether it's fight or flight.
100.
Do you give it up? Do you potentially risk? Or is it okay to risk? Because wise man's got his, if you got the shank and you're trying to intimidate them, surely common sense would dictate that. You need to show me levels. You need to show me that I need to be afraid. Okay, this might be one that I can fight. Or I can run away from. Like, just
using that. That's what I'm saying. So there's certain situations that you provide that. Generation now, you have to find what ways are best to help your children have the equipped knowledge, skill for that. And you put them in scenarios. So one of the scenarios that I didn't put my son in, he ended up being in, which alhamdulillah was the best thing that could have happened, because it was a proud moment for all of us. And he learned a lot from it, and it just gave me the confidence that he's doing it. I sent him downstairs to the car park, which I live in an apartment on the 5th floor. So he will go in the lift, he'll take the key, take the fob, open the I've got underground parking, he'll do the fob, go into the car park, open the car door, get me something from the car, lock the door, fob, back in. Simple.
It's crazy that is even a big ass today.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's crazy, innit? But it's because of the fears.
Children being born saying, I didn't give you permission. I didn't give you, what is it? What's it called? I didn't give you, what's it when people, I don't even want to, I'm not even going to. I was going to say rape culture. What's it? Permission, what was it? I didn't give you consent. I didn't consent for me to be born. Quickly, let me just, Assalamu alaikum. Ibs is now in the room.
Oh yeah.
Listeners, I don't even think
you did the introduction, didn't it?
It's Ibs, Abu Alia, and Nurudeen.
We did it. Yeah, we did it.
All right, so back to what I was saying. Okay, so my final trait would be.
Sorry, let me just finish off that. Let me finish what happened with that.
Yeah, so the key.
He went in. He went downstairs. He did it, but he forgot to take the key.
Okay.
So. Took the car key, forgot to take the fob.
Okay.
The door was open. So he got into the car park, got what he needed to get out of the car, but couldn't come in. So I had forgot. I was just as you do. I would just continue what I did.
Yeah.
Then my wife, as they do, where's Haroon? Where's your son? When did you? I sent him downstairs quickly. What?
I'm gonna lie, we're off the cart.
Where is he?
It's feeding the initiative that men are useless. It's feeding the initiative that men don't know what to do with their kids.
So I was like, I parted it off to her, like, fam, don't worry, man, he's all right. Let me just quickly go down and check what's happening. Got down there. He was all right. The door, obviously, he hadn't got the key. A little tear had just dropped, but he quickly like, I'm all right. So I go, what did you do? So he said he had gone back into the car, tried to get the fob for the gate, tried to use that. That didn't work. He then had the iPad, because I got him to get the iPad. He opened the iPad, tried to FaceTime me from the iPad, but there was no network downstairs, so that flopped. He then, I think, went to the other gate to try and see if that one was open, came back, didn't work. Then I said to him, what was your conclusion? What was you going to do? He said he was just going to wait at the door till someone opened the door and then come back upstairs. Fam, the proudness that I felt, knowing that affirmation, that confirmation that those skills were instilled in terms of what you're saying, the sharpness, being aware, the fact that he
Being able to
adapt and try to for something he wasn't, and then it didn't cry until the point where he was like, okay, I'm a bit stuck here. No one's coming.
But he tried every single possible option.
Bro, and for my son to do that, I didn't think he was ready for that. That sharpness that I've been trying to instill, I didn't think he was ready. That gave me confidence. From then, he stepped up now, and it's through different things that he's seen us do and stuff that he adapted to that. So that point, 100 resonates really for someone that's very timid and shy. And nah, man, that's something that definitely he has been brought up with, and I agree with you that it's something from early we must instill in our children. Yeah, 100%.
Well, I'm back. That's. I mean, goes back to my first trait. 100%. In fact, that's enough. That's enough for it. So quickly to round up before I ask Ibs the same question. For me, my final trait would be, if I was to pass down, if I had the option to pass down, would be
You did say sharpness and stuff, innit?
Yeah, but something when I was discussing the previous point,
you had another one.
Yeah,
sorry, I cut you off.
For me, no, I cut you off. It would be to not be impressionable by society, by friends, by whatever. If they know they are right, unless they've been proven wrong when it comes to with regards to the religion, if they know they are right, especially when it comes to something in regards to the religion, and everybody, they're the only person in the room that is of the belief that what they're saying is, or they're the only person in the room, because sometimes they might not be right, but if they have, even if they're wrong, depending on how wrong they are, even if they're wrong, but what they believe is right and what they've been taught is the right way, and what they've been taught is with evidence, and no evidence has been brought to them that what they're saying is wrong, they are still strong and firm upon what they believe in. It can be in regards to the religion, it can be in regards to whatever. As long as no evidence has been brought to them that what they're saying and what they're doing is wrong, and everybody else in the room is saying no, they're still gonna go ahead with, or they're still gonna do what they're doing. Because especially nowadays where you got Muslims doing stuff they're not meant to be doing, or stuff that has been fabricated, or let's not even say the religion, let's just say work environments. Because this happens a lot in work where you're the only Muslim in the room and everybody else is on doing something, and you're like, I'm not. Sometimes it can be clear as day. Like, this is not right. I cannot co-sign with this. That's what I want to pass on to my children, to be strong, to be strong-minded, to not be impressionable.
Yes.
That would be my last point, because sometimes you can even be peer pressure is real, innit?
It's real.
And I see it,
especially more this generation, man.
I was thinking of this generation. For me, alhamdulillah, it was never an issue. That's one. Like, even when I talk about education stuff, there can be stuff that I have to think of. Peer pressure, without a doubt.
I think there's also peer pressure, indirect peer pressure. I don't think anyone can say that they've not been indirectly influenced.
I reckon.
Yeah, I know you. That's why I'm saying it. I feel like it's, especially with technology now and whatnot. I know you're not on socials and stuff, but it just happens that I feel like it's a human trait where, especially generations now, it's crazy now, but even our days, I do feel like there was some level of influence, no matter how small.
Yeah, I think there's a level.
Or there's a line, I would say, between what is peer pressure and what is motivated and influence.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think there's a difference between being inspired and then being impressionable or being peer pressured. I think there's a clear line between the two, and I would never say I've been alhamdulillah, I'll never say I've been someone who's been peer pressured into anything at all. I've literally been even when I've literally been in situations where, for example, drugs have been consumed, and I'm literally the only one there. And you know when you're in a situation, if that I'm like the one I just mentioned, those type of people that you're around, if they don't rate you and you're not doing what they're doing, they'll make you do what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah, on that level, yeah.
I'm in those situations where, alhamdulillah, I was never someone who could be made to do anything.
Right.
But that aside, even in the situation I was where they could have.
But why is that?
I did because I don't know. To be
for
honest.
me, Islam was a big factor in it.
100%.
Yeah, but you see, in that
100%.
situation,
it's also it's mental fortitude as well. 100%. I've been in situations like that as well, where young, I was a kid, and I must have been around some friends non-Muslim, and I remember, I think I was at someone's house, and someone offered to get me a drink, knowing that I'm Muslim, and said, "You don't want any alcohol, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's giving me the drink now, and obviously me being me, I've taken a sniff of that drink before drinking anything, and there's alcohol inside it. So from then, I've just known I don't need to be here. So I've just like, stood up, said my goodbyes, and I'm out the door. And
that's what I want.
And I remember coming to school the next day, and my friends saying that if you hadn't left when you did, because the state that they left the house in compared to me, if I hadn't left when I did, that it would have been political. So yeah, I guess Islam was definitely a big factor for me there as well, because it wasn't just the fact that I didn't drink it was that I also knew that I don't need to be around these people, even though my friends were there. I don't need to be here. And
that comes back to awareness and using your initiative.
Yep.
Just going back to that scenario, with that, I'll definitely Islam was not even.
Yeah.
The time I'm talking about was Jahiliyyah. That wasn't even a thought, which I guess makes your question valid in regards to what makes you in that scenario, what makes you not want to join in that situation.
Yeah, so that's what I'm asking.
I just generally couldn't answer. I guess it could come back to fitna. I guess it could come back to good upbringing.
Yeah. It's something instilled in you regardless. You're right.
Yeah. Because I genuinely don't know. I was just never interested in.
And that's a good point, because that just shows a lot. Like obviously myself, Ibs, we said in Islam, yourself, it probably was indirectly without you thinking that it's been ingrained in you that is the case, and you're just something just made you feel like nah, that's not me. And I'm the same. But I think the point you're making is about that strong will, that strong mindset to say, I don't need to bow down to what you're. Like, I can say no. Rago, like that.
I can say no, or I can just not join in.
Yeah, or I can choose not to. And I think that is only something you have trained yourself in a sense to have, that not everyone is able to have.
Yeah, basically, just to run out of being the only person in the room saying no against everyone saying yes.
Yeah,
and being,
was you that guy?
Being strong in that conviction.
Yeah, was you that guy?
I'm still that guy.
Exactly, and I think that's a hard thing for some people.
Yeah,
hard thing for some people.
100%.
They'll just say yeah. I don't care to say no. Even my job, some of my business's job requires me
That's what I was gonna say.
To be the person to say no. And sometimes I'll sit back, I'll let them all say yeah, and I'll just at the end say no. And then the facilitator will then turn around and say, you know what, Nurudeen's right actually.
100%.
Or others will then join them. Actually, no, I get your point. Hold on, why did you say that then?
100%. And that's what I was gonna say when you mentioned that in regards to Islam and me saying, but I just forgot me saying at that time Islam was not even a thought process at the time. It was not even in the back of my mind. With that, because I know there's going to be people listening that are going to say, but my children are not going to be in the roads. Which, number one, is naive, living in London. Number two, it might not be naive. Inshallah, it's not the case.
No, but
at the same time, there's going to be different situations. Yeah. And the one that I was going to mention was work. Yeah, and this happens so many times. And I haven't worked. I wouldn't say I qualify as someone who's worked professionally in an office environment for an extended period, but I've experienced it. And there's so many situations where you are going to be in as a Muslim, where you're going to have to be the only person for you to stand. You need to remember, you're going to have different morals from everyone else. 100%. You're not like everyone else. Even as Muslims, you're not going to be like other Muslims, because there's going to be other Muslims doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing. The moment you try and please everyone, you're going to lose yourself.
Yep.
That's it. And that's just to run it off quickly. That's why
I agree.
I want that trait in my children. Right. Yeah. So, bro, 3 traits quickly that if you could choose, obviously we can't choose. That's the best of planners. But if you could choose 3 traits that you would, if Allah gave you the option to hand to your children, like a wallet, you would give.
Yeah. It's probably going to be most of the stuff that you guys were saying, but so I would say, like the first one I mentioned before, I would say that mental fortitude, and then I'd say self-awareness, and I had it before. You said, I think you were talking about sharpness, innit?
Sharpness.
Yeah, I think that kind of falls into
that goes to awareness.
That kind of falls into like self-awareness, but then also I would say, I would say the ability to listen, because obviously I know that kind of sounds a bit basic, but I think what a lot of people don't realize is that there's actually a lot to listening, and listening isn't just hearing what someone's saying. It's about hearing what that person has said, and then you process that information, you ponder on it, and then you respond. And I think that's a lot of what we don't get today. I think people just kind of listen just to respond. So they'll hear what you say, but they haven't actually digested what you said. They're just going to respond to what they have in their head regardless.
Especially if they've got an agenda.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think, and that can also kind of fall in with things like when I was mentioning before, like things like mental fortitude, because you can know that you're right about something. You can know that you're right about something, but then also having that ability to listen, because although you know you're right, so let's say for example it's a debate about maybe let's say something to do with the deen, you know that you're correct in what you're saying, and you're not going to waver because you have that mental fortitude, but you're having a conversation with someone that has a different opinion. And I think it's important to understand why the other person that you're talking to thinks in the way that they do. Because unless you're talking to someone that's mad or insane, that person has a thought process. And I think it's important sometimes appreciate why people think in the way that they do, even though you may not agree with it. So you have that mental fortitude. You have that mental fortitude. You know that this is what's correct and this is what I'm going to stick by. But this other person that I'm talking to also has a thought process. They have a reason that they thought this way and they've come to this conclusion. And sometimes I think it's to understand the person that you're talking to, it's important to understand that as well, and just appreciate that people are different. Experiences will shape them in different ways, and they'll think in different ways for a reason. The person you're talking to isn't insane. They haven't just arrived at this conclusion.
What you're saying is correct. I agree mostly.
Yeah.
However, with the specific scenario that you gave of the deen,
maybe I know that's probably not the best example to give. That's probably not the best example to give. I understand,
depending on my children and how strong I see they are.
Yeah. An issue with regards to knowledge. I wanted to say, what I was thinking of saying was maybe if you were having a conversation with someone else, but then also we know we don't want to get drawn into debates about the deen with non-Muslims. So obviously,
because it can form doubts.
Yeah, so that obviously that wasn't the best example, but just in general when you're having conversations with people. So and then I think the last one I said was, I guess, self-awareness. And that was the first one. Yeah, it was the first one I said, but we spoke about, I think like last week or 2 weeks ago, we mentioned self-awareness, about just being aware of your surroundings, how you're coming across to people, because again, people are raised in different ways. You might
self-reflection. Yeah,
self-reflection. You for example, let's say I was raised in a house where it was loud. We all had loud voices. We talk in loud voices, and you were raised in a house where everything was quite quiet. And we meet for the first time, and I'm talking to you in my loud voice, and you're scared of me, but I'm not aware of that. Self-awareness, just things like that, and it's nothing to do with who we are. It's just to do with the way that we were raised. And self-awareness, you can correct yourself in that moment. Self-reflection as well. Again, how you come across to people. You might be speaking in a particular way that's normal to you, but isn't normal to David from Birmingham who comes from the side of the country who's never been to London before. Self-reflection, and you might
that's
just
where stuff like the social clubs and that.
you might just want to correct yourself in that moment, or think about for next time what you're going to do better in those kind of situations. So I think this is an interesting topic because recently had some family over at my house, just some, I think my missus, nephews and nieces, and they don't live in London, innit? They live in other parts of the country, and I guess just kind of observing them, I've number one kind of spotted that there's already a disconnect in like the generations, and they're not much younger. They're not, they're like what, 14, 15, 16? Wow. And there's already a disconnect. I can see already, like being on their phones for hours on end. And I don't get it.
That's one thing. That's the one thing.
I don't get it. Hours on end. If I'm on my phone for 20 minutes, I get bored and I have to put it down and do something else.
Not them.
Hours.
We were talking about that. PS5.
Yeah.
How they like watching footage.
Yeah. I don't understand
watching
it.
stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, my son.
I'm not gonna lie, that's what I do, bro.
I don't understand it.
Since I got rid, I stopped playing games for years. But when games come out, I like the story. Like Call of Duty or something where I like the storyline. I watch the gameplay.
Yeah.
But these guys literally watch. I know what you're talking about. They literally watch
like streamers and stuff. Yeah.
Like Fortnite. Hours,
streams.
Hours.
Yeah. I just don't get it. And then I think one other thing I've kind of noticed is that how big a part social media can play in these kids' lives, and it's absolutely ridiculous. You've got kids from other side of the country that are talking about things as if they're from London.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, like, what's actually going on? These kids have no idea of what's actually going on, but because you see all of it on social media, or you see all of it in music videos, and you feel like you're a part of it, but you don't have the first clue about what's actually they want to be part of it.
I was watching,
and it's just glorifying absolute nonsense.
100%. I was watching a dance the other day, and the scholar, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but one of the scholars was saying how he gave the analogy of how back in the day the world was different because people in one area of the world wouldn't know what people in the West were doing. But now the world is like a village. It's like one big village because now, and I think he gave the analogy of Twitter. He said now one person in one country can know what the other person's doing, and yet the distance between them could not be further. So now you've got somebody who's been raised in a conservative country or whatever, and they're basically behaving and taking inspiration and taking motivation from stuff that's happening in the West. It's like literally they're living in the West, and they're living in a whole other country, in a whole
the countries to be in a certain different way. Like
you see the whole nonsense
doing those behaviors in certain other places.
You see the whole stuff that they're talking about with Afghanistan and the whole women, with that stuff. But yet, no one's hearing about how the Taliban are supporting the treatment of the Uyghur Muslims in China. No one's talking about that, but yeah, we're talking about women empowerment, getting pop stars on to talking about women empowerment in Afghanistan. But that's a whole another topic. All right then, moving on. I know I wanted to talk about financial education for children. It's something I wanted to discuss before. I tried to discuss it with Ibs, but I couldn't really delve into it too much.
Oh yeah.
How going forward? How would you make sure? Obviously, I've got a plan, but plans are good in theory, and I'll discuss my plans in a minute after hearing what you're going to say. How are you going to start off educating Harun on financial education, financial security?
Started already.
I was expecting to hear that.
Yeah, it's important, man. It's important for many of the linking to the traits we were talking about too. It's about training them on humbleness as well, being ready to understand how the world fits in with regards to the way that you just have to adjust your situation and not be fazed by others.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we have
pocket
instilled.
watching.
Yeah. But also not get carried away with it, and then the balance between giving him a better life than you have had. Ultimately, that's what you want for your children.
And spoiling them.
But then the balance between spoiling them, making them be humble, but also not giving them any ounce of feeling like they're arrogant or anything like that, you know. So
Looking down on people.
Yeah, looking down because and it's all linked to money. So you have to, but it's the reason I'm mentioning all of these things is because it's through those educations of those traits that when you then talk about money, you link it. And I think that's one of the things. And then before even all of that, it's starting with Allah and starting to say that money is not from you. Risk is not from you. Any wealth is not from you. It's from Allah. And that foundation, that understanding.
From, when you say as you mean as a parent. Yeah. It's not from,
Yeah. And one of the things actually, funny enough, that you just said that, the other day we went on a little, I always take my wife away, just, you know, where we can, hotel up north, if it's London or go away. I always travel, but COVID, we've not been able to travel. He sees that.
Scotland.
I
took my wife Scotland.
Is it? That's sick. MashaAllah. I've not gone to Scotland. That's a bit too far. How did you get there?
We drove.
You drove as well? I think I can't do anything more than 4 or 5 hours. How long did it take you?
Took me about 6 hours.
6 hours, mashallah.
Because they got some good roads there.
Okay.
So before I sold my previous car, I just wanted to
zing.
I took it for a service, got some new tires, took it for
zing it.
Used that
That's
as a
good.
road
If
trip,
you have a
2
good
in 1.
car, then yeah.
Yeah, it was the M3.
Okay, that's why it's 6 hours for you.
Fam, I loved it.
Mashallah.
So
To be fair, actually, with my new car now, I should be able to go up. We haven't actually done a road trip. So,
Pending,
inshallah. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, I think remember we were talking, say everything is mad, subhanAllah. Everything's linking together. Now we're talking about the fact that they watch and they obviously see things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Affection to your wife, show that to your son. Affection towards your wife, show that to your son.
Just to elaborate, you mean show the affection
that you have for your wife.
Public affection
in
front of your son.
In front of your son. Because I think it's something that has to be seen so that he understands, one, for his own wife when it comes to it. Trust me, no matter how young they are from now, they take their sponges.
Kids are sponges, yeah, literally.
Sponges.
Yeah.
But two,
treatment towards other women.
Exactly.
In his care.
Exactly. And also himself. He it's okay to show affection. Me and him cuddle, me and him hug, we do all of that. But it's because of what, even when I hug my wife, he'll come and join us. So similarly, the reason I mentioned all this is because he sees me take her away all the time. And sometimes he's going to grandma's house. He ain't coming. This time round, he actually knew we're going and wanted to join. And to be honest, I wasn't on him coming, but at the same time, I went alone time with my wife, but at the same time, it was beautiful. The fact that he did come, we changed up the room, we got him an extra bed, a bigger room, whatnot. It was nice. Now, the reason I mention it is because afterwards, this summer I felt was dead for him as well, because usually we go away or there's more activities. Summer hasn't been the same summer, COVID, whatever. But alhamdulillah, he's been able to do better things with family members, his cousins. He's done more things like that than outings and stuff. And again, financially, it's not all about that. That's the thing. After that trip, I asked him, just make dua. And this is what I'm trying to instill. I just drop little things like that. Make dua.
For that to be his first go-to.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because you've just had a lovely experience. You've enjoyed it. Make dua to Allah. But I want to hear it. Like, let's do it together. Yeah. But the dua is for gratitude. And what does gratitude mean? I don't know. All right. I use that as an example to show him gratitude. Why are we grateful? Because we just came from a lovely hotel. We spent the night. We did this. We did that. You enjoyed it. You enjoyed yourself, yeah? Cool. that's Allah that provided that for us. Yeah, but it was, and then using, so this is what I'm educating about finance. It costs money for that. Now, but actually, before I even said that, he impressed me. He said something. So I go, oh, so make dua. What are you grateful to Allah for? He said, for having lovely parents. Oh, that touched me straight away. I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking, oh, I'm happy just because of da. So again, he related that. Alhamdulillah, Allahumma barak. Then I said, all right, another dua. Go on. What else are you grateful for? For my parents having good jobs so that they can buy me things and do things like this.
That's it.
So I was like, yep, wins. So he's now clocking. And so that's an example exactly from Allah. And that's where there's an example I'm showing of some of the foundations that have been set through educating him using, first and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that provides. Then explaining that that's one layer. That's the first layer. That is the foundation. That's us. Then the next layer is now the system and understanding that there is a way that the system in this country works and we are working to them finance. But fortunately, alhamdulillah, for me, I have businesses. So even I asked him randomly yesterday, what's your name one of your dad's business? Just to test him. And I test him a lot. This is a
That's good because we never knew what our parents were doing.
Do you know what I'm saying? He still doesn't know, to be fair, but he just dropped a few things. You're a football coach? That's not what I am, but cool. You know, it's in football, you know what I mean? And that's because obviously I do one-to-one sessions and whatnot, so he relates it to that. We have a football team, but you know, the fact that he knows that dad has a business that provides money, income for the family that gets you what you're getting now. Another thing we do as
sorry, quickly, I should interrupt you because I'm still thinking about this. I just want to get it out.
Good.
What you said about taking your, you know, how you mentioned you got goals for your children. Yeah. What you said about taking your
son to Arsenal.
Yeah. No, not to Arsenal. To I'm really football. Take your son to football. Taking your son with you to with your wife. For me, it just made me think that. Of one of my goals, just remind me of one of my goals. One of my goals is for my inshallah, when my sons each grow up to take their mother out to eat. Yeah. For that for me, that would just melt my heart. Yeah. And for me, another thing as well is
that's good. When it comes
to Rida, like you're forgetting at the end of the day, one of my bros, he's in this situation as well where, in fact, most of my friends have sisters that are older than them, but at the end of the day, they're of puberty now. It gets to a certain age where you're on the same level. And obviously, I have a daughter first. My firstborn's a daughter, alhamdulillah. Inshallah, when she grows up, although as a brother, you're younger than your sister, you're going to be the main protector. Yep. You're going to be, if I'm not around, you're next. Yep. So those are, for me, those are like my goals, like for my son to be my sons, inshallah, to be proactive, to have that, to be leaders, to be that level. Yeah.
And I think I also have that. I've had that, and I know obviously you're saying based off what I've said, but just to
I've always had that. It just reminded me.
But that's what I'm saying. You've just reminded me that is also a goal that I had set as well, because of my experience of being the firstborn, and I know what that means, what I am to my family now, and what I do. You know, I can see it, and even more so now that, you know, since my dad's passing, may Allah forgive him. Ameen. And enter him into Jannah to Firdaus.
Ameen.
Because of that, that left a legacy. What he left as a legacy, but also what I now have become as a consequence of that. Even more so, it's now emphasized the importance of my son being raised to be able to handle what I'm now handling and I've handled over the last few years. If I don't do that, I've lost. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a live experience that I've gone through, which was difficult, and I'm still doing, because I'm the man of my families. I now have families. I'm the head of 2 families. That's how I see it. Yeah. I've got Bolaji Junior, Bolaji Senior family. and both I'm in charge and looking after, you know, and not everyone sees it like that. Personally, that is how I see it. I am the man of the house. I am the man that has to now provide as well. Find ways to provide. So I'm stepping up my businesses left, right, center, bro, because of the need to make it for them. And I want my son, inshallah, to either take over the businesses or design his own route to do
Muslims,
the same.
As Muslims, we're meant to prepare for death. If we're not preparing for death, then we're flopping. Like, at the moment, we should have plans already for, if we don't want to be funding GoFundMes for our funerals. We don't want to be put in situations where our families are just obviously like it's a whole it's true. It's whole different.
It's deep. You're right, but it's so
we're
true.
already at an hour and a half. We'll discuss it another time.
Inshallah. But yeah, the point. So it's just some gems I was throwing. Like, ask the question, get their thinking. Don't doubt their thinking as young children. They have a thought, even as 4. Phrase your question about finances, even at that age. We used to play money, like even. So I've got so much to share. Like, I like the fact that you mentioned this topic. There's games that you can play with them about buying and selling. Even I was 13, and I had my own business back then, selling clothes in the masjid, in youth clubs, whatnot. Had elders that used to protect me so I wouldn't get jacked. Shout out the elders. But I used to always have that kind of business driven mind from then. Yeah. I was working in the off license at the age of 11, 12,
we even
13.
discussed it, shot in suits in Nigeria.
You know what I'm saying? So that instilled me with that mentality that about money and hustling and making P but in a halal way and all of that stuff. The grinding from then, I want him to also have that.
I apologize about turning up to your wedding.
There's shot in my wedding. I still, man, that blows my mind every time I look back at that, listen back to that podcast. I'm like, what? That happened? Right. Abdullah, you know.
There's one thing I want to try and briefly kind of just branching off that kind of grinding thing. I feel like, to an extent, sometimes, especially with this younger generation coming up, that whole mindset of grinding may sometimes be glamorized a bit too much.
Yep.
And I don't personally, I don't. There's having a mentality of being independent and wanting to make your own money. That's absolutely fine, but you can go too far with it. I've heard kids saying stuff like, "How can you be 17 or 18 and still be relying on your parents?" And in reality, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Fair enough, you want to make your own money, but when I was 18, I had a job. But if I needed help, I'm still gonna ask. I'm not gonna starve myself because of pride. I'm still gonna ask. So I think there is, again, like I said, there is with this new generation, there is a bit of glamorization of that whole grinding thing, and I feel like it's different for them as it is for us, because maybe for
That's
us,
what I was just gonna say, yeah,
maybe in some scenarios our parents might have struggled a little bit with money, so we had to. Whereas with their generation, it might not be the same thing. It might just be glamorization of this whole I'm grinding, and at 17
100%.
years old, really and truly, you shouldn't have to be grinding. You should be able to rely on your parents because that's what they're there for. So I guess, how do you strike a balance between the two is the question I'm kind of driving.
And another thing is, what are you grinding for? Are you grinding for Balenciaga t-shirt?
Exactly.
Or are you grinding for a purpose?
Which is what I think the generation of today are shifting towards. Is why they feel that their money. Like my sister, she's turning 18 this month. Can you imagine Mariam? She's gonna be 18 at the end of this.
Your Mariam's 18. My Mariam's in university, bro.
I'm saying, flying. So, and then my brother is just turned 14. They're of that mindset, and so my next thing I was actually gonna move towards is the games and stuff that you do, but also there's the use of technology. So go on.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly say something. So quickly, right. So one thing I was gonna say was quickly the difference between what you're saying and what we're discussing is we're discussing about ways to put it in place before they even,
of course,
whereas that
foundation,
a lot of that stuff But yeah, we're talking about setting foundations. A lot of that stuff is social media, what looks good. Yeah. Again, intention. 100, what are they doing it for? Yeah. So that's why I think that differs. And secondly, I mentioned, because I know this is going to go into your point and I want to give you some ammunition. I mentioned that I had plans in place, and obviously stuff's good in theory, but when it comes into practice, that's when you start to learn. So basically what I discussed with my wife was basically with each of my children, kind of feeding them tips here and there, feeding them stuff. And then once I see that they're level-headed with money, once I see that I've given them a £5 and they haven't spent it all on sweets, they spent a bit here, it can be literally, they've gone and they want some food. And then I can give them a £5 to see how they spend it. They haven't spent it all on one burger. They've bought a £2 burger here. They've bought a drink for 50p. They've bought some sweets. They've bought this, they've bought that, they've bought something, and they've spent the last £2 on something that they can make at home. Or that they can bring home. Just stuff like that. Then I'll be like, okay, cool. Let me open an account for them. Let me give them £500. Not tell them there's £500 in there. Just give it to them. Let me see what they do. Because if I tell them I'm gonna give you £500 to see what you're gonna do for it, it's not gonna be genuine. They're just gonna do stuff that they think will make me happy.
That's it.
I want to give them £500, have access to the statements, which you can do accounts that do that, and see what they genuinely do with that money. If they reinvest it, if they work on it, cool. Feed them a bit more. See what happens. If they spend it all, which I'm expecting them to do, then wait a couple more years to redo what I'm gonna do to do this. And then if they work well with the money, inshallah, let's see what they do with their own money. If not, let them join the family business. Let's see what you can do. But that was my
100, and it's ammunition for sure, because it just leads on to my next point. I am now, alhamdulillah, Allahumma barik, a father to not just my son, but also my sister and brother. Really, I've become a father figure to them too. So what happened is, when my dad was ill, I already took that default. To be fair, my dad was also, mashallah, a person that was having that business mindset, but also, alhamdulillah, obviously everyone that knows my father had that, faith and reliance in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of the things he also was doing is planning for not death, but obviously you plan for death as well, but at the same time he was knowing that I'm the firstborn and I'm the man.
Your father was a leader, man.
He already, mashallah,
your father was head of Malakans.
Exactly. So he gave me the title Amir 5-6 years ago of the family, because that's the way it should be. Like, you get to a certain time, just like our elders should be doing with us and are trying to do
that stuff.
It gets passed over, but once you get, it's like
even giving the children kunyas, it's proven that it builds a certain level of maturity and give them a certain level of
it's training.
I don't know why I did that.
It's leadership. No, it's leadership. But in the same way, I have also taken that responsibility and used and adapted my own knowledge, experience, but also the current understanding of the world, in a sense, technology, to better use how I manage their finances. So to start with, Haroon to the side for now, my two youngers, brother and sister, I've got, the way I manage it, I now give pocket money. I did this, like I said, when my dad, I took a bit more responsibility because I knew obviously dad's on well, I've got to take that. So pocket money and stuff, I started taking lead on. And there's this tech. I mean, it's not easy, but I'll tell you that now. Yeah. But because as well, the reason it's not easy for my siblings is because I've learned that what you're talking about with Ibs about setting foundations. My parents did what they can do with us, me and my sister. That's my age, Aisha.
Yeah.
The gap between us and them is another generation, and that generation, the same way we got brought up is different to how they got brought up.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm backtracking with what I'm doing with them now compared to what it was easier in terms of us understanding certain things now.
Okay.
What you were saying about social media, blah, all those troubles and tackles, I'm going through with my siblings because they're in that generation. But it's teaching me for what I need to also ensure that I set for Haroon, because I'm now seeing the new generation is making me aware. But because the foundations weren't necessarily set in the way that I'm setting them for Haroon, it's more difficult, it's more challenging. But there's this app that I use called Go Henry. Shout out Go Henry. Bro, it's transformed the way what you're talking about, exactly word for word what you're talking about.
Okay.
It is there. It is an app.
Go Henry.
Yeah, Go Henry. Shout out like everyone that's on there as well. Definitely, if you have children of any age, you can use it. What it does, it's an app that gives you the ability to manage your children's finance. Fact. And you can do it in limits. You can set limits. You can set goals. They can put attach a savings account within that account. It literally runs like an account. They get a card even.
Okay, so it's
literally an account, but it's managed by you. Yeah. So you as the parent can change the rules of the game.
Wow. Okay.
And literally what your example of doing, you can do doing that. And I've literally done that. So you give them £20. I say, that's your money. Let's see what you do with it. And I literally will come up Sainsbury's, 50p. The
reason why I emphasised I want to give them an amount that is, because £500, that's nothing to us. But at a young age, £500 is like 50 grand.
No, 100%. It's a good test. So, and I've done exactly that. I've done literally pocket money, one thing, extra thing. I'll give them a budget.
Just to go as a taster to see how they would. And then
obviously the inheritances came through now, manage that as well with regards to how they're going to, and I'm, it's your money, it's your thing, but let's see how you do this, do that. It's changed. But you're right, there's challenges within that because one of my siblings became OT with how they were kind of reserving like it became OT in terms of I can't spend nothing. I don't like, but that was it. That was good as well. So my sister's 18, he's 14. My brother's 14.
He's the one that.
So my sister. So she was trying, because she's getting to 18. She was stealing, so I instilled it too much where she was like, okay, I can't spend it
That's better than.
Yeah, I know. But I'm gonna bait her up. I'm sure I'm gonna send this to her so she can watch it as well. But I'm gonna bait her up so much that she was even getting to a point where she would get sent out to the shop. She's got money in her account, but she's put in her savings. She's been sent to the shop by my mum. She's short 20p or something. She'll call my mum and say, can you send me the 20p? Bro, you got 20p, what are you doing? But mashallah, I OT'd it. It got to a point where she was even thinking too much. That
she reminds me of one of my bros. You know what I'm talking about.
Secure and invest no matter what. So mashallah, and now she's kind of eased up with me and my sister Aisha. We've balanced it in terms of supporting her knowledge with it, and she's got better. So now she's set, lad. She's gonna be 18. Give her free reins. Even that app, I did it because she was, when I started with her, she was 16. And she was thinking, I'm a big girl now, man's just finished school, secondary school, you give me one app that I'm going to controlling my fight. I've got another, because she got another account, she got a normal Halifax account. I'm like, no, you're using this. Like, well, I'm not no baby Haroon. But I said, no, you're doing it. And then I shifted, when she's 17, I shifted it to half there, half here. So do what you want with that P that you get there. But this one, I want to see how you manage that. You know what I'm saying? And they can't transfer across. It's not like that. They have to use it. Sick. Contactless now they've added as well, so they can use it like that too. Cash point, they can take out a cash point, but again, you can put limits on it. You can only take £5 out, £10 out, whatever it is. Brother. Now, the biggest thing, so that's that. So that's her. Mubarak and Haroon, but mainly Mubarak. Mubarak was starting to become naughty at school. Proper naughty. And boy, I'm going to have to send this. So he went Nige. And then he came, when Dad was ill, he came. And then I was going to send him back because he was acting up. It was minor stuff, but acting up. And then the road, like, I know you keep saying that, but he was literally now starting to see road. He was like 13.
I'm not seeing that.
I know, that's the streets. I know. But It's real, man. I can't not
Go ahead.
So, meaning literally, he was on road. He started to come after school, stay with just a few of the guys outside on road and just stand there for no. My mum even at one time, she was on the bus and looked and just saw him come out, pulled him by his ear. What are you doing? And literally, he could have got sucked. He would have been so vulnerable, got sucked like that. Social media as well. I clocked a few things, grabbed that from him, gave him a brick. Literally, because at that point in time, I could see. And literally, I think from what I even read in some of the messages and stuff, he could have got sucked. He was vulnerable at that time. He could have got sucked. So I thought, what can I do? Incentive, financially, help him in terms of understanding money, because now dad's ill, dad's passed. He needs to now step up because he is now next in line to look after the family, regardless of if he's the youngest. I started putting, so on the same app, there's targets. You can put assigned targets and they earn 50p for doing housework, or you put targets, whatever, you can make custom targets and they get paid based off that.
Sounds, yeah.
So from that now,
they need to sponsor.
That's in it. That is what literally changed him to the point that he's one of the best in his class now, in his school. It turned him around, but he was, and I used the challenges of social media, influence, blah, blah, to the advantage, because I knew he's money driven at this point in time. So capture that first, let him be money driven, use the money to then motivate gains, and then change up now I've changed his understanding of money. And now, for example, both of them, mashallah, they've gone to Dubai. We rewarded them with a trip to Dubai. And because my sister's out there, so they've gone to meet her. And
fully had the older brothers to reward me with a trip to Dubai.
They were gassed. It was a surprise, mashallah. It was nice. And they deserve it after the years that they've just gone through. But mashallah, they've stepped up as well. So it was a nice reward. And what the money that I'm now giving them, and this is what I'm saying, the difference between us and our parents. I can do this because I know it works. Usually, our parents will you go on holiday, they'll give us money, innit? You're using your own money, blood. You're using your own money, and my sister's telling me reporting back that the way that they're conscious of not wanting to just waste their money. If it's us, mum, buy this, but with their own money, I don't need that. She's literally telling me that both of them are saying, nah, it's all right, I don't need that. Or I'm going to get this meal, but I ain't going to get this and this and this with it. I'll just have this. It's already working.
Sick, man.
Now, Haroon, going back to Haroon, I do the same with him, but on a small scale. So he's learning to stack. So for Eid, what me and my wife do is use the app. So all he's doing for Eid is stacking, especially Ramadan. You're fasting, all of that is associated to his account. And then for Eid, the biggest gift for him, obviously we get gifts and stuff, but the biggest gift for him is the stack that he's got there that he can now spend on the games and stuff that he spends. So we buy gifts and stuff because we want him to feel that as parents, we've given him.
It is important, yeah.
But he also is buying. So he goes, I get him to go online to, me and the brother was talking about Switch that he loves. He'll go on I get him to go online, get him to get a pen and paper and start writing down a shopping list of what he's going to get for Eid for himself based off the money that he made through him stacking.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the mentality, that's the financial education that he's learning already at the age of 8 of shopping. He's online shopping with his own card. So I get him to even physically put in and type in his own thing. So that he's learning how to do it. He's learning the processes. He's understanding. He's appreciating his money. He's budgeting. He's deciding what he wants. Actually, scrap that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
He's starting to think and appreciate money. But remember, let's go back to the first part. Where did the risk? Where did the money come from? The money I'm giving you in terms of pocket money. Where's that come from? It's not me or Allah's provided that for me to give you, and now you've got it. Now thank Allah for it.
And also, how do we extract the most barakah from that money?
Exactly. And charity. Bro. Get them involved in charity, blood. he comes to me and says, "Dad, how much have I got on my thing?" I'm like, "Oh, what do you want to? Don't tell me this game. Can we give charity? What? What?
That's trying to make me cry, fam.
Bro, it's deep. But that's what I'm saying. But it comes from foundations that you set from the start.
Yeah.
And there is no time for it. Forget all that. Wait till they're teenagers. Wait till their puberty. Bun that. Once they're smart enough, they're sponges. That's the best time.
That's why I said when I see that they think before they spend money. So the little fivers that I give them, they think before they spend. They strategize. Once I see that, I don't care how old they are. Once I see that, and that's when I spoke to my wife. One of the only reservation she had initially was like giving a large amount at such a young age, and I was like, look, as I mentioned before, it needs to be genuine. Like there's no age to this. People mature at different, and not only do people mature at different ages differently. People mature differently. They might mature in one area, but be immature in another area. So it's all,
and it makes them. It's part of the experiences that will help shape the maturity. I feel, through their experiences is where they get that from, and they can know, and they can be a bit more advanced as well. Is how you can see it. So, yeah, for sure, those are some of the gems that I would definitely recommend. First and foremost, Allah's word to Allah, because it's a reminder to myself as well. Like I can't. How my things have recently been upgraded as well. Mashallah, Allahumma barak, got a new car, things upgraded, got a nice yard, alhamdulillah. All of these things are because I've changed my mindset recently as well, after Dad's passing. I'm so grateful for the way Dad passed, for example. And it's hard for someone to say that, but trust me, we as a family, all of us are grateful. If you ask all of us now, how do you feel? We're grateful. Allah has just made things happen in the way it's meant to happen. And the moment you're grateful, Allah 10 times drops it even more. And you make dua further for that risk, for that thing. Once sometimes you understand we even
forget the gratefulness
that's what I'm saying.
Having parents.
Bro, they're risking
parents
themselves.
are a massive blessing, man.
Yeah, man.
In life, they're one of, if not the biggest blessings.
They are. Hundreds.
And we take it for granted a lot of the time, man.
Hundreds.
A lot of the time.
So yeah, no, those are the gems I would say with regards to finance. I think it is a good topic you raised because it's underrated. It's not mentioned. It's just expected that once they become 18, boom, that's it. They got an account done. Yeah. And going back to parents as well. My mum, the reason I'm so conscious of it is because my mum did that for me. And the same way my wife has done that for my son now. She's opened the account. I didn't even know. She opened the account. Little did I know I was putting money into his account. I was like, how's the boy got a bag or however much he's got? And I'm sitting there.
I had to do it the hard way. I had to go Sunday after school and because I didn't even know you could get an 11 to 16 account.
My mum did that.
I was just, one boy was just telling me, oh yeah, I got an account. I was like, what? What, your parents want? He's like, no, I got my own square. I was like, oh. Yeah, take me. And I went with him to Santander, opened my first account. Yeah. Just mad.
Yeah. My mum did that for me and my sister. Yeah. We had an account. That inspired me to then do the same. I went to go and get one. Yeah, and then I started splitting there.
She didn't go and open the account for me, then give me this square. She took me to the bank as well, sat down in the bank.
Yeah. That's what I'm gonna do for my children.
Yeah, that's the key, honestly. So I've started that now. And for sure, when it gets of age, he will walk into a bank and do the same thing for himself.
All right, just to wrap up, because we're running out of time. There's so much.
Is this will be the longest? So much. Is this the longest pod we've had?
Yeah, but this pod, it's lovely. I love this.
I'm available,
there's
guys.
Too much. There's too
anytime
much.
Because to be honest, one of the things that I love about this pod is that we're real. Like I said this last time. We're real, we're putting it out there, and I don't mind sharing. Like some people feel, why are you sharing? I spoke to my wife as well. I was like, listen, babe, heads up. I'm gonna be like, these are my brothers. I'm gonna talk straight. And she's like, she's cool because she knows the benefit it has on others, and that's alhamdulillah. Allah sometimes puts us in this position. Sometimes it takes courage to want to do stuff like a podcast and stuff like this to share your experiences. But little do you know, the intention that you have behind what you're doing, you're gaining so much barakah and blessings for it, and that's the intention. But two, it benefits so many people in ways that they didn't even understand. So sometimes people come on the pod just to listen, but the gems it creates for them and what then they do for others. Little do we know what we're doing. So inshallah, like I'm here, guys. I'm here.
Right. just to round off. You know, fam, so many stuff I wanted to discuss raising men because, like I said, men are disposable in society nowadays, even amongst the Muslim community.
Yeah. So to quickly answer that question, is linked to the skills, everything with regards to the foundations. Eye open. Them watching you be a man. You be a man in front of your man, your little man, and be a man. Like, you have to own it.
Take leadership.
You have to take leadership. Show your wife, honestly, showing that love, appreciation, all of that in front of your little man. They see that. So
also checking your wife and stuff as well. Yeah. And not being taken for granted, because men nowadays grow up taking nonsense from women, and this is not to do with me and my wife. This is not to do with women in general. No, this is to do with women in general. Like, it's not to do with a man and his wife. This can be a man and just women in society. It can be just women in general. Like, a lot of men deal with nonsense and excuse nonsense. And the more you excuse that, and the more the kids see you doing that, the men see you doing that, the more it transgens, the more it goes over to the next generation, and the more they are more open and susceptible to taking nonsense and to excusing nonsense. That's the most important thing, excusing nonsense, because you excuse it, you then start to enforce it on others, and that's how we end up with LGBTQ plus and them having more rights than Muslims and people saying that, look, do your thing, that's fine, but don't enforce it on me. Don't teach it to my children and say that's normal, because I don't believe that's normal. My religion doesn't say that's normal. This is what I believe. So what you're now they're even saying what you believe, you have no right to believe and take a part of it. You have to delete a part of your religion, because
so contradictory what they're saying.
Listen, I could go on, man.
Trust me, don't start. I get vexed. That's what's mad.
Time's coming to an end. Right. So actually, there's a first thing I need to mention on this pod, because I've spoken about polygamy on this pod. Yeah. Obviously, I mentioned I was a victim of fraud and I changed my number. I just went back to my old number to put my SIM in my phone just to look at some messages, because I had to sort out some admin. And I'm not gonna, because my wife, in case my wife's listening, I haven't discussed this with her, because she's not gonna. I'm not gonna say what was propositioned to me, but all I'm gonna say is, just because I discussed polygamy doesn't mean I'm looking for a second wife.
Is that what
I knew exactly what he was gonna say.
Is that what was said?
I'm not saying my wife might be listening. Listen, I'm not shook on my wife, innit? I'm not a man who's shook on my wife, but just for, I know how my wife is, innit? I don't want her watching this and hearing about this for the first time, or because I'm not going to discuss it with her, and because it's not something she wants to hear, innit? No one wants to hear that their husband's being propositioned to.
People are trying to set you up. Anyway, yeah.
Man's not looking for a second wife, innit?
But people are thinking,
I probably might not even marry a second wife. But for me, polygamy is part of it's part of the sunnah.
100%.
It's a sunnah. Just because I talk about something that
is sunnah,
that we all should believe is the sunnah,
it is the sunnah,
doesn't mean I'm looking for a second wife.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting that out there, innit? Man's not looking for a second wife.
For now. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I wasn't on that pod anyway. You don't need to ask me. None of my views. We're talking about fatherhood, so it's got nothing to do with polygamy for me.
All right, just to wrap up as well.
See, I slide out that one straight.
Just to round off. Obviously, all good things come to an end.
No.
And obviously, I'm no longer going to be. I removed myself from being on a podcast. I'll no longer be part of this pod. Obviously, moving on to that I think I've achieved what I set out to put in motion with starting up the pod.
100, man.
Like, we're doing good stuff here.
Yeah.
Like, This was always my intention. My intention was to have a conversation with three Muslim brothers, because it's not. I at the time there was another one, but to be frank, what they were talking about is nonsense, and it was not a good representation of what Muslim men should be discussing on a public platform, as well as the other stuff they do. So this for me was this is what I imagined: three, especially black brothers from my community,
100%
discussing stuff that Muslim men talk about, and what we should be doing, and how we should better our communities, and how we should be doing stuff. And alhamdulillah, I think I've achieved what I set out to
100%,
to start.
Yeah.
I just want to give a massive thank you to the people that involved. Obviously, Mams was in the first couple of podcasts. Mahmoud, just want to thank him for his participation. He really did have an impact. I want to thank Sister Sauda for providing the artwork that we use, and changing it to like the artwork that she used is epic, and it even set the colours we use for our animations and stuff. Obviously, I want to thank the brother Ibrahim and his wife for setting for doing the animation, all the Instagram, all the animations, they do it. I think obviously O's for having us. Like we would not be here. We would not have a place to record if it wasn't for the brother O's. He's been patient with us. He's been a blessing. And obviously thank Abdul Malik for, like, we get comments all the time about how Jollof after Jummah, that title is sick.
Yeah, it is.
And that was
like,
him. Yeah.
It's that was all him.
Yeah.
He's edited the past 30 episodes.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank all these people. If I've forgotten, obviously the listeners, thank you for listening. Like, thank you for bearing with us, listening. Obviously, some people might have been triggered by stuff we've said, but at the end of the day, the message is there, innit?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that we said that is against the Quran and Sunnah. If there's anything that I've said that is from the Quran and Sunnah, then I repent publicly. If there's anything that I've said that even is from the Quran and Sunnah, but it may have come across in a derogatory manner or a condescending manner, then I sincerely apologize and forgive me for the sake of Allah. Moving forward, anything that is put on the pod has nothing to do with me. Like, it's not. I have nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with the pod moving forward, inshallah. But yeah, that's it from me, inshallah. Till
we have you on as a guest.
I was going to just say that.
Yeah.
So you come on the
video. Have you on as a guest.
Yeah, you 100% have to.
Yeah.
Obviously, VIP guest.
I'm gonna be doing some other projects, so it might not be the last you hear from me. But for now, farewell. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I think no, we're not gonna wrap down. No, like I said, I don't think you could have put that any better. But yeah, alhamdulillah, obviously we have to thank you as well. I mean, if for those of you that don't know, if it wasn't for Abdullah, this podcast wouldn't actually exist. This was his idea. Although we all worked together and we did the work that we needed to do. If it wasn't for Abdullah, this podcast wouldn't exist.
Listen, these men have been mashing work.
We're gonna sit here and do this. I'm trying to be like you, go back and forth. But alhamdulillah, man. Yeah, obviously we thank you for your input and your insight into all of the topics that we've had, and we do wish you well for the future. And we just pray that Allah puts barakah around.
Excuse me.
May Allah continue to put barakah in the works He's gonna do.
In all of your endeavors going.
You know what? It's actually gonna become a year to the day we put our first podcast.
What, this episode?
When this episode comes out, yeah, 3rd of September. It's gonna be a year.
Mashallah.
Yeah, 52 weeks.
Wow, mashallah. Well done, man.
Yeah, man.
That's amazing.
So first episode was dropped on the 4th
of September.
I don't even.
Yeah, 1 year.
I'm looking at iTunes.
The podcast is going to continue, of course. But obviously, it will be me and Abdullah, Abdul Malik, and we'll go from there, inshallah. And yeah, we'll leave you on that bombshell.
Bombshell. Yeah. You're gonna be missed, brother.
100%. You man are getting popped, by the way.
I don't even.
I just feel that I'm happy that I didn't. It's good that you came. I didn't get to watch the match because right now
days.
I'll just be switching up the place at
you
home.
Man are getting popped.
That's
obviously,
Arsenal, by the way.
obviously, this episode, I think there's many nuggets that can be taken.
Yeah,
like
so many.
This has been one of, if not my favorite, and I think my other favorite would have been the first one we done. So I just want to say, but Jazakumullah khair for coming down, and honestly, Jazakallah for all the other guests that have come down as well. And obviously, most importantly, we want to thank Allah, because obviously without Allah, none of this would have been possible. And with that, we'll leave you. Farewell. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.